AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing.
Welcome, everyone, to Morning Magazine for this July 28th, 2021. The computer just flipped on me. Sorry. We're in part two today at 10:30. We're welcoming our friends from ODC, Pam Ross and Paula Weber are going to join us right now in studio. We not only have our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, we got our good friend Joe in. Good morning to you, Joe. Thanks for being here. Also sitting in for us, pitch hitting today. We were going to have Lance in. Lance is a little busy. He's not able to make it in. So we have Trent Minor pitch hitting today. Thanks for being in, Trent.
Thank you for inviting me.
Appreciate the time, especially with what you do. I feel like we have a real golden opportunity here, Trent. So let's kind of kick off right here. First up, how are you and yours doing? How's everybody been holding up?
Absolutely great. Enjoying the summertime. My wife and I are blessed with 2 married children and we have 3 grandkids. So our summers are spent a lot of times with the grandkids.
And you're busy.
We're busy. Yes, and tired a lot. Yes. Yeah, amazing. It's amazing how tired a person is.
Busy and tired. Yes, absolutely. Trent, so first up, what is your position? What is your title exactly?
I am the Wood County Clerk.
Right on. Yeah. And when? How long have you been doing this?
I have been the county clerk now for 3 years, and I was in the office about 1.5 years before I got appointed county clerk.
Okay. Have you worked in this field before?
It's kind of a unique, kind of a winding road to get here. I've always been active in local government, and that was always interested me. And working on election board in a small township like mine, I live in the town of Hiles in the western end of the county. You do a lot of different things, fill a lot of roles. And one of those was I sat on election board because we couldn't find people to sit on election. So that got my interest going, and that's one of the main duties in the county clerk's office is elections. So I got to know Cindy Seapress, the former county clerk, real well. My main job before I got into the county was I worked retail. And I heard in your last segment you talk about big retailers. I worked for Mills Fleet Farm for 28 years full time before Cindy asked me to be her deputy county clerk. And I came in, and then she retired a little prematurely. And I was interviewed, and they chose me to be the new county clerk. So,
and thank you for sharing that. That is an interesting path.
Yeah.
Also, there's some parts of it that ring a little familiar to me when talking to when we had Mayor Blazer in, when we've talked to other people that have gone into this kind of field. It not always seems like there's a connection, but it feels like there's one.
There is. When you're dealing with people, and that's what we do a lot of in the county clerk's office. There's no better training than retail. than retail. You see it all.
Yeah.
And that's certainly, you know how to deal with people after that many years of working in retail. You kind of understand how people think when you see them. Certainly that was good training to come up into this.
I'm so tempted to ask you which was harder, but moving on.
Yeah.
I think that's a connection that not a lot of us would make. I appreciate you making that connection because it makes perfect sense once you said it.
Sure.
I wouldn't have thought of that right out the gate. Now the other part comes in. Why go into public service? Why put yourself through this, especially after just coming out of retail?
It was a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a new challenge for me, and we were at a point in our lives, in my wife's and I lives, that I could change jobs and be okay with that. And knowing that my position is elected every 4 years, so there's no guarantee. Once you're hired, you can be fired every 4 years pretty easily. So we're at a point in our lives that's a risk that I'm worth doing. So enjoy and love this job. Truly love this job.
I don't think anybody, the greatest political minds in the world, could have seen what's come in the last election cycles and the questions and the problems with voting and this and that and all the noise of that. And we're not at all going to put anybody on the spot here or get into any of that because quite honestly, I feel like it's boring radio and I don't feel like there's any news there. But I do have to ask, with all of the noise going on, we haven't had that much in Wood County here really. Is there something there? Has this even for you, even though there's not a lot of noise coming from it, is it something where you're like, it doesn't hurt to look things over one more time?
And we do that as a part of our processes. I mean, in state statutes, it's well defined that, there's checks and balances within the entire election statute. So not only do we look at returns, let's talk election night returns. We look at those. Is there any anomalies? Is one candidate got everything and another candidate has nothing? We're constantly looking at that. And then we canvass to certify those results. And as a part of that canvass, we actually Wood County goes a step further. We'll open up a couple of ballot bags and we'll hand count. Did the machine do what it was supposed to do? Did it count it correctly? State statutes mandates that we do that after every November election. And we actually take it a step further. We do it after every election. We'll take a couple of townships. We don't announce who we're doing. We just do them. We don't say ahead of time that we're doing this. So it's a good checks and balance for us. And I was left with a very good system, and we continue to improve on it.
I'm a big believer, and I was raised in a political family to question everything and to have questions and not be afraid to ask them. And I feel like that's certainly important, and we want to encourage our fellow Americans to do these things. But during this whole process, one of the things that I couldn't help myself from doing is trying to find the silver lining in it. And while there's all this divisiveness and tearing apart and everything, to me, I thought, well, we're coming out of this, and hopefully there's a lot of people out there like myself getting a new appreciation of our people like yourself and the volunteers, the people that count these votes, all the hard workers that every couple of years, whether it's for a presidential election or a government election or anything, that work on these things, and all the work that goes into this. I, again, grew up in a political family. I grew up in Chicago. I know politics. I know very weird politics.
Yes.
It's something that I grew a whole new appreciation for. And I got to say, I got defensive. Like, it was one thing when, like, other states were counting, okay, we're going to recount our votes, or we're not sure about this or that. When it started happening in Wisconsin, I was not volunteering on this. I was not one of the people, but I got defensive for you guys. Like, wait a minute. These guys are really good at what they're doing. They work really hard at this. Some of them don't even get paid to do this, and working it till like 2, 3 in the morning after working all day. And you're going to call them out? You're going to say that that ain't right to me. That's
a lot of those I guess I'll call them naysayers or really hardcore questioning everything. Please sign up to be a poll worker.
Right.
You get firsthand experience right in the trenches of, okay, what can we do? We have to follow state law, period. And if we don't like the state law, well, there's remedies for that. You take your pencil and aim it towards Madison and tell your state representatives that, hey, this doesn't seem right, or we should change this. But working those polls is a good way of understanding the entire process from really the ground up.
And this whole thing that we're doing, this democracy experiment that we are running in America, it's not just important to us, it's important to the whole world. In order for democracy to survive in the rest of the world, we are the shining example. We are Exhibit A.
Yes.
And when we question this stuff, it's okay to question things. I'm not saying that, but once at a certain point, like, I don't know, maybe 6-7 months later, it's probably time to maybe let that dog sleep. It may be moving on, and it's not just important to us as fellow Americans. Again, this is a world thing. Democracy is not just ours. Democracy is owned by other countries.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I as of about a week ago, I got another open records request for the November election, and that's fine. I'm happy to provide information that I'm allowed to provide under state law. But it's November election. We've had 2 elections since then, and they all went perfectly fine, and nobody's over questioning it. But it's still out there. It's still out there, and it's constant.
And it's one of those things that you hope that by the next cycle it gets a little better. We'll have to wait and see. But one thing we have in our back pocket, that whether you guys realize it or not out there, is we got people like you, Trent, that are doing the job and doing it right. And that's, at the end of the day, if you're doing that, you got nothing to hide. You got nothing to worry about.
I have nothing, and I'm comfortable with all our municipalities and their clerks and their poll workers. We do training with them. Actually, I just had a training here a couple weeks ago with our chief election inspectors and our municipal clerks. What can we do better? What did you see? What were questions that came up in your polling location from November? Because truly, last year's elections were challenging to administer and to conduct, and we try to make things better each time.
I'm glad you mentioned that because to kind of put a bow on it, I wanted to thank you and everybody, your staff, everybody that worked to make an election happen during a pandemic. Just to remind people again, because it seems like there's a handful of people out there we got to remind, we pulled off a presidential election during a pandemic, everybody. Yes. While we should, I feel like raising that up and being proud of that, you've got all this other noise going on.
And
but
not only a presidential, but there were elections before that. In Wood County, we had the April election, which kind of started the pandemic, and that was the presidential preference primary at that point. And a lot of people were scared, not knowing what to expect, what should. And let's face it, a lot of our poll workers are in that elderly bracket. A lot of them chose not to work. So I think municipalities stepped up, and a lot of their residents stepped up and said, "Hey, you need volunteers, we'll volunteer." We had National Guard in April. By the time we hit November, we didn't need any extra help. We had our own citizens being able to fill those positions. So yeah, it was challenging, but everybody pulled together and we got her done. And I'm very proud of everybody.
I imagine that you probably had more mail-in votes than usual. Are those things hard to count? Are those things hard to keep track?
No, truly not. We have a system in place, a statewide election system in place. It's not hard to keep track of those things. But even as we progress through the year, the amount of those absentee ballots as a percentage kept going down. More people were comfortable going to the polls. Now, that's not saying that we were scrambling to find, because we need certain types of envelopes for absentee ballots, and thank goodness for local printers that we have here in Rapids that were able to bail us out. But no, it's not hard to keep track of those. You get into a rhythm, and certainly our big cities of Marshall and Rapids, they have systems in place that, okay, where's this ballot? It's in this ward. Okay, it's in this envelope. No, it's not that hard to keep track of them. It's not hard to keep
Appreciate you sharing that. I think a lot of, for many of us that have never done that work or anything, you wonder. There's a system. There's a system in place.
There's a system in place, and there's checks and balances in the entire process.
When it comes to what you do, there's a lot of the things as far as licenses and passports and those sorts of things that you do. I imagine, especially this time of year, passports are a popular one. Is there anything as far as like, I'm coming to you, I need a passport, and I forgot this or I forgot that? Is there a common thing people forget and should remember?
For passports, bring along a certified copy of your birth certificate. And if you were born in Wisconsin, you can get that from our Register of Deeds office. Same place, about 10-15 minutes. The ladies up there will print one out for you, and we're on our way. One thing with passports, though, huge time delay right now. 18 weeks turnaround time. 4.5 months before you can get a passport. So we're starting to see an uptick. Certainly during the pandemic, our numbers went way down. Usually we do about 700-800 a year. Last year we did about 200.
Wow.
So it fell off the face of the earth. It's starting to come back a little bit now. People are thinking, okay, it's spring of 2022 and I want to go abroad for a student or whatever. They're planning ahead, and that's good. You should be planning ahead because they are 18 weeks out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I certainly didn't know that. That doesn't seem like common knowledge. But.
Pre-pandemic, we were at about 4 to 6 weeks, and right now we're at 18 weeks. So passport agency is not fully staffed within their individual office buildings, so there's quite a backlog. I
was going to ask, is that the reasoning behind that? Okay, that makes sense. We're hearing that with a lot of things.
Mail is another reason too. Again, slow mail is slower than what it had been, so we have to allow time for that.
Now, granted, this is a job that you've been doing a couple of years, but you didn't come from this world necessarily early on. Walking into it, there are things that you probably are looking forward to and things you may not be looking forward to, but what's something that has come about in the job that you found, I really love this about my job. I really like that this is something I get to do.
You think about the courthouse in general, and people don't necessarily like the courthouse. If we don't have to go there ever in our lives, life is probably pretty good for us. But of all the offices in our building, I've got the fun one. Truly, I have the fun one. We get to deal with people with passports. They're going on a trip. Or marriage licenses. Yoo-hoo, we're getting married. I don't have to deal with the repercussions later on up in the clerk of courts with divorce, but we do the fun things in the courthouse, and we try to instill that in our attitudes towards our customers, and hopefully make them feel better about the courthouse itself.
It comes across that's a part of the job, or a part of the job for you in particular. Maybe not every county clerk or what have you, but it does seem like something that, meeting other ones in my life, similarity there I see. And also we need that in our not just us as citizens. I'm sure the staff there and the people that work in and out of the courthouse every day could use that kind of energy. They deserve some, I like our courthouse, but I wish there was more like color. I wish it was a little something. I know that there's reasons behind all that stuff, but just because sometimes I walk in there and I think, man, these guys deserve to have something to smile at, I mean, they got a hard job. It wouldn't kill to have something nice, a big painting that they like or something.
Right.
With the marriage licenses, that is an interesting one too. That I love the way you worded it too, because you hit it right on the head. You get the good spot for sure.
Yes.
Is there things with that like me and my ex-wife, we're not together anymore, but we got married at the courthouse, and I remember how much it meant to us. We thought we checked everything, and we still, there was one thing I think I forgot. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I had to run back and get it.
Sure.
Is there things like that people should keep in mind?
Again, just like with a passport, we do require a certified copy of your birth certificate. And again, if you're born in Wisconsin, that's not a huge deal. We can get that through the Register of Deeds office when you apply, if you didn't bring it with you or you don't have it. Previous marriage, if you do have a previous marriage, we need to see, well, how did that marriage end? You're not still married, are you?
Right.
How did this marriage end? Through a death or a divorce? Those types of things. And then there's always that state-imposed timeline. The license is good for 30 days, but there's a 5-day waiting period between the time you apply and the time you can get married. So we always recommend to our customers, give it a week or two, then come in and apply for your marriage license. So
is there things in your job or what you do that the average person wouldn't know about?
We're pretty upfront. The things that oh boy. Okay, there might be the gotcha question, my friend.
Only
things okay, we're clerk to the county board, and a part of that process or part of that job is we have to post their meeting. Our government is we are open. We're an open process. But people have to know that we're open and about these meetings and what the policymakers are doing and when they're doing it and what they're talking about. And that all runs through my office. Really? So we make sure that the county board, the agendas are out there for the public. We make sure that it's legal. We make sure that the county board has all the information they require. So we're kind of secretary to the county board. We work with all the departments in the county to make sure that the county board has all the information they need to make the decisions they need to make.
I appreciate that, Trent. I should have worded it differently. What I was thinking of, because there's certain things that I thought I knew your gig, and then I'm researching your job and you last night and realizing, I didn't know you guys did timber cutting permits. Like, I had no idea you were in charge of something like that. Like, that's one of those things I wouldn't have known going into this.
There are goofy statutes and not things that we don't do very often, but in the statutes, it says the county clerk, all the land that the county owns is held in the name of the county clerk. Cool. I'm now a land baron. That's a neat benefit to my office. And then, timber cutting permits. Some of those oddball things that are in statutes that we don't do very often. Transit merchant permits. Once in a while we have these college kids come in and they'll sell books or educational books. Well, they have to come into our office and apply for a permit to do that. Just little oddball things. You don't do them very often, but they come
every
up.
once in a while. They pop up.
Absolutely.
And everything. Now, when it comes to any of those things, is there something about the job that going forward that you think is going to evolve, change, maybe added to, taken away?
Elections will certainly always be an evolving thing, depending on outcomes, on who's in power at the time. Elections laws change, and it's our duty, I think, really every county clerk's duty to make sure that the municipal clerks, those of us that report to us, have the information and the training they need. So I think county clerks in general have to get better at training election officials to make sure that, because all eyes are on them, you don't want to misstep. And a lot of the missteps that end up happening, truly, it's human error, it's error of mind, not of heart. Everybody wants to do the job correctly. There isn't. I don't know all the election inspectors, but I do know a good majority of them. There isn't one of them that wants to screw this process up. There's one of them that wants to do that. So making sure they have the training they need that will be constantly evolving.
One of the things I appreciate about the system, especially hearing you, somebody who knows what they're talking about, really breaking it down for us, is that even somebody, if I'm one of those people, I'm a knucklehead and I want to throw off the whole election or whatever, there's a checks and balance to where that'll catch me. That I will not get away with that.
Correct.
That long before the public even hears the results, that has already decided I'm locked up and I'm put away, all that stuff. I think that's a key part of this too, to keep in mind, that the way this system, because this is a good system.
Yes.
The way this is built, it's got that designed into it.
And have nefarious things happened within Wood County? Sure. I know of instances where people have voted in two municipalities at the same election. They were caught. They were prosecuted, and it's a felony. And now they probably lost their right to vote for a while. So you will be caught. It may not be today, but you will be caught. There's no question.
And we're talking about like a single category, a single person here. You think about this on a large scale, like a whole state, let alone multiple states trying to work together to have some kind of I mean, the amount of like things that it would take for this to all fall into place. I marvel at what people can wrap their minds around sometimes.
And even suggest, and it's like you hear some of these things out there. It's like, wait, huh? What?
I feel like I'm reading I feel like I'm reading an Onion article sometimes.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
this is just for fun. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's out of an actual reporting. When it comes to, for you, things that you have like taken from the job in your own personal life, is there anything like that? Is there like things that, I'm really glad I experienced this and I appreciate this more in my own life?
Empathy. Because the courthouse plays host to a number of different things, and a lot of them are during people's certain hardships within their life. You go home at night after seeing some things that happen within the building, and you thank the good Lord above that you have the life you have. You may give your wife an extra kiss and, hold her hand a little tighter. But empathy, certainly, because life is hard for a lot of people. And, yes, I tongue in cheek say we have the best office, and we do have the best office in that building. We have the fun stuff. But not everybody can have fun going into that building. And so empathy is one thing that you really take out of that.
Can I tell you how much I appreciate that answer? That beautiful answer. And something that we can all of us can take a note from that. That is really good, Trent. Yeah. We love talking to Lance. I have fun every time he comes in. Really glad he had something else to do today. It's great to meet you, Trent.
Nice meeting you.
It really is.
Thanks for having me.
And before we let you go, do want to again thank you. Great work, you, your staff, all the volunteers, everybody involved. Wonderful work, man. Thank you for everything you're doing. You're helping Freedom ring. We can all do this together. We can all be a part of it and supporting people like yourselves doing this good work.
Thank you.
Trent, if people do have questions, if people do want to have a follow-up question or anything like that, can they reach out to you?
Absolutely. Give me a call in the office. 715-421-8460 is my office number. And certainly the Wood County, just type in Wood County, Wisconsin in Google. You'll find us. Go to the county clerk's page, and certainly we're there to help you. We're the information central in the courthouse, so we're happy to help anybody.
Excellent. Do me a favor, say hi to everybody over at the courthouse for us. And thanks again for joining us. We'll talk again. We're bringing you back, Trent.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot for being with us today.